All right. Hello and assalamu alaikum. My name is David, and I recorded this video just to do a quick run through on how to use the van for phone banking. So you should get a link from whoever your coordinator is, and it will take you to this page that you see here on the screen. You can go ahead and click Get Started, and it will take you to this login page. If this is your first time coming to the van, you won't have what they call an action ID yet. So you can go ahead and click Create an Action ID account here. It'll just ask for your email address, name, and phone number, and you can go ahead and click the box and then click Create Account. And it will send you an email to confirm your account, but as soon as you finish this page, it will take you straight to the actual phone banking page. So since I already have an account, I'm just gonna close this and go to mine. So this is the page that you'll see once you log into your account or create your account. This page has a little bit of information about the first person that you would be talking to, along with the scripts down here. So we'll just go through this together. So at the very top of the page, it's got the name of the person whose phone number this is and some basic information about them. So this is a 48-year-old woman. So basically, you would just get on your phone and call this phone number, and then you would run through this script asking each of these questions. So at the beginning, we say hello and assalamu alaikum if we think that their name looks Muslim or if we feel comfortable saying assalam. If not, hello is fine. And you can introduce yourself as either a volunteer or an employee of CAIR Florida. You may need to call yourself the Council on American Islamic Relations to better identify who you are. But you could also say CAIR if you're more comfortable with that. And then the first question is about the census. So we're reaching out to remind everyone how important it is to participate in the 2020 census. Have you completed the 2020 census form yet? And then you would select the answer that they tell you, yes, no, or unsure. Now, if they say yes, there's a little information here. You can say that's great to hear, or that's so nice, or we're happy to hear that, and you can move on to the next question. If they have not filled out their census form yet, or if they're unsure, you can give them one of these websites, this bit.ly website, or if you think they're going to have trouble understanding what Bitly is, for example, if maybe if they're an older person or something like that, you can just give them the my2020census.gov website. This Bitly actually redirects directly to this website. The only difference is it helps CAIR keep track of how many people are actually going to it when we use the Bitly link. One of the difficult parts about doing phone banking is keeping the person interested and on the phone. We have to keep in mind that we're basically cold calling strangers, and not everyone takes kindly to answering phone calls from people that they don't know, and especially when those people start asking them personal information. So it's really important that we keep that in mind in the way we phrase our questions and in our tone of voice. We want to sound positive, happy, inviting, and not too intimidating. And one thing that's helpful is to kind of keep your questions and your introductions as briefly as possible, because if you start taking up too much time, they're not going to be interested in remaining on the phone. So the farther you get down this list, the better. We understand that it's not always going to be the case that you can ask every person you talk to each question, but we'll try to keep going as far as we can. So if we've gotten them on the line and we ask them the census question and they answered, then we'll go ahead and keep going. And we'll say, while I've got you on the line, it's never too early to make sure you're prepared to vote. Do you plan to vote in the general election on November 3rd? Now, this says general election here. That means the presidential election. So basically that will be between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. However, we are being very careful not to mention any candidate names unless the person you're talking to asks, is that the election that we're talking about? But we're doing this phone call as a part of a 501c3 organization. That means a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. And that means we are not allowed to be partisan at all. So it's almost better to just avoid saying any candidate names. So that way it might not be misconstrued that we're supporting one candidate or the other. We're simply just asking for basic information if they're planning on voting or not. And you have a couple options, yes, no, or unsure, just like before. And also just like before, we have some different responses. So if they say yes, then we can say great and continue to the next question. If they say no, if they're unsure, you can respond with either of these answers. And then finally, if they're still on the line, we can ask them if they've requested a vote by mail ballot. And then we have a couple of different options here. Yes, they have already requested their vote by mail ballot. If so, that's great. If they say no, it could either be because they just haven't yet, or no, because they're planning on voting a different method. So those are two options there. And then there's unsure. So if they're unsure, or if they say no, they have not requested a vote by mail ballot, but they want to, then you can give them this link here, this bit.ly link, CARE Florida vote by mail, and that will take them to the page they need from the state of Florida to request their vote by mail ballot. And then if you make it this far, then you can just thank them for taking the time to talk to us, and tell them that you wish them a great day. Now, while this script is here, it's by no means meant to be followed verbatim. We want these phone calls to sound as natural as possible. So that way, the people are more likely to listen to us and stay on the phone. So if you have a particular way of speaking, or if there's an expression that you tend to use in your natural speech, and you think that will make you sound more open and natural on the phone, then by all means go for that. And if there's any phrasing in here that you think is either, unnatural or robotic, or something that doesn't sound like what a real person would say, go ahead and feel free to rephrase it. But what's important is that we get these questions asked, and we document the responses, and then that we provide this kind of information. And again, like I said before, we have to make sure, especially on this question, that we don't accidentally make it sound like, or even give the opportunity for them to think that we're being partisan in any way. So other than that, you do have some freedom to change some of this wording around, just not too far. And if in your phone calls you find that there is a particular phrase or a particular method of asking one of these questions that works a lot better than what's written here, and you think that other people could benefit from that, go ahead and let your coordinator know, and they can reach out to me, and we might consider adding it to the script so that way other people can benefit from it. Now, when you're calling people, not everyone's going to answer the phone. So if you click on this button here where it says I couldn't reach Monita, it will give you a couple of different options. Please make sure that you try to pick the best option for what happened. So for example, if it rang and you had to leave a voice message, you can go ahead and click I left a voice message. If they answered, but they asked you to call them back because they're busy, of course, that's an option. Sometimes it'll be the wrong number. So you'll call and, it won't be Monita, it will be John. So you can go ahead and put wrong number. Sometimes it will be a disconnected number. That's, when you call it and it'll tell you that it's disconnected, or it won't ring at all. Sometimes the phone will just keep ringing and never go to voicemail. In that case, you can use not home. And sometimes the person no longer lives in the state of Florida. And if that's the case, that you can put moved. So that should cover most of the options. Every once in a while, you might come across something that's not listed here. If that's the case, put the best thing that you can think of that would make sense for that, the closest option. And go ahead and let your coordinator know that, so-and-so said this, and it wasn't an option here, and I couldn't find something that was exactly right for that. And we can see if that's something that we can add as well. But it is important that as much as possible, we try to capture the right information. So once you go through this list and you ask them all of these questions, or as far as you can go with them. So for example, maybe Monita will answer and she'll answer the census question, but after that, she's not interested. So then I would only have picked the answer for this question. However far you get with them, you just click save and next call, and it will just load you to another page that looks exactly like this, except it will have a different name and phone number here. Every once in a while, it might have multiple phone numbers listed, especially over here where it says preferred phone. If that's the case, just call the preferred phone first, and if they don't answer that, or if it doesn't go through, you can try the next option. All right, I think that's basically it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your coordinator or reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help you. One piece of advice, whenever you're doing phone banking, if you've never done this before, the hardest part is always the first couple of calls. It is a little bit awkward. You're calling strangers and you're asking them to give you somewhat personal information. So you just kind of get through those first calls, and once you get comfortable with it, it's really much easier. You have to get a little bit used to rejection. A lot of people just won't answer you. Some people might hang up on you. Every once in a while, someone might say something mean to you, but for the most part, if you just try to sound as nice and open as possible and as personable as possible, you have a good shot at getting through these questions with people when they answer the phone. But again, if you have any questions or you need any help, feel free to reach out to your coordinator or to me, and we'll make sure we get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, and salam.